Hello Be Smart viewers, welcome to Guru Gyan. Today we have with us Professor Nilanjan Banik, Professor and Program Director in Economics and Finance at the Mahindra University. He gives us a peek into the macroeconomic health of India and how we expect it to fare in 2024. He also tells us why the economy is doing well at the moment. So friends, let's hear it from Professor Banik.
2023 was a very good year so far the Indian macroeconomy is concerned. If you look at the broad headline macro indicators, you will notice, starting with GDP, inflation rate, current account deficit numbers, unemployment rate, all are pointing to the direction that the Indian economy is growing. Let's start with the GDP, which happens to be the most common way to understand whether any economy is doing well or not. You will find that Indian economy in the last fiscal year is growing in excess of 6.5%. In fact, this growth rate is lauded by major multilateral agencies, including IMF and ADB. Why is it that the Indian economy is doing so well? One thing we should notice, almost two-thirds of our domestic consumption is driven by the economy itself. We don't have to depend on foreign economies to drive or sustain our domestic consumption, be it health, be it education, be it tourism. All these things are driven by the domestic economic activities. And as you know, that the consumption expenditure is the main driver of any economy. For Indian economy, around 10 years back, consumption expenditure was explaining around 57% of our GDP. But as we speak, consumption expenditure itself has increased. Now it explains around 62% of our GDP. So that's a very important sign that overall you are seeing an expansion in consumption activities across the economy. Now let me share with you some numbers which will complement the fact which I just now stated. For instance, if I look into the numbers of passengers car getting sold, you will find last year almost 3.8 million cars, passenger cars, were sold in India. If I'm talking about two-wheelers, for instance, motorbikes and scooters, almost 16 million units of motorbikes and scooters are sold in India. Now, what this is pointing to? This is pointing to the fact whether you're talking about the urban area, which is the sale of passenger cars we can take as an instrument for how well the urban areas are doing. You will find that urban area, the consumer in the urban areas, they are doing well. Why? Because we have never seen this much amount of passenger cars getting sold. Rural area, typically they consume two-wheelers, and we also see that the number of two-wheelers which are getting sold in the rural area, that is also increased to a number which was never happened before. In addition to that, there is another way to understand how the Indian economy is doing well, which is trying to look into the tax collection, because if the business activities is happening in a more robust fashion, it will also imply that the government is getting more tax. Let's talk about the direct tax. The two major components of direct tax are income tax, and you also have corporate tax. Now, both income and corporate tax taken together, you will find that last year the government has collected almost 1.9 lakh crore of rupees, which is again what happened for the first time in the history of the Indian economy. The government never collected this much big amount for as a way of tax collection. The other thing also you should notice, what are the government activities which is actually helping to sustain this economic growth. The first is what we call the advancement of Jan Dhan account, which is basically saying that you are giving an opportunity to the unbanked population to get access to the formal credit system because you are opening a bank account. The second is the use of digital technology. For instance, nowadays, whenever we are doing any transaction, we are actually paying through PhonePe, GPay, which means that even if you are paying to a small mom and pop store owner or to the roadside retailer, you are actually creating a credit history for those small businessmen. And in doing that, you are actually bringing the economy from the informal sector to the formal sector, which also means this is going to increase the growth numbers, because earlier the informal activities was huge and it was not getting counted as part of the GDP. But now, because of the expansion of Jan Dhan account, because of expansion of digital technology, digital payment, we are seeing more and more business activities coming into the formal sector, and that is leading to increase in GDP numbers. Now, these are good things because we are seeing that the unemployment rate is around 8% level, which is the long-term rate. And you will see, also notice that in India, every year, around 14 million people come to the labor market. Now, most of these numbers of laborers who are coming to the labor market are getting absorbed. Why it is happening? One of the reasons is now the construction sector is doing very well. So most of the agricultural laborers who are otherwise not so skilled, they are finding employment in the construction sector. Of course, we have to take into account the quality of employment, because one of the things which is being talked about is maybe the wage rate that the laborers are getting are not that high, and there is a problem with the distribution of income, with the rich becoming richer faster compared to the poor becoming richer. Now, that is indeed true, because if you look into the overall productivity, in India, the overall productivity, we are still only 20% that of the US overall labor productivity. Now, labor productivity and your wage rate are clearly related, and because the Indian labor productivity is low, you are saying that the wage rate is also low. Now, the next question is how to improve the labor productivity, which in a way will also improve your distribution of income, transforming it from more skewed to more a even distribution of income. One thing you should notice is in India, most of the smart people or the smart graduate students who are passing out from IIMs or IITs, they usually migrate for greener pastures. So it is very important that in India, we actually give emphasis to the primary education. So you have more number of people who are coming out from the primary sector, because our tertiary sector, be it IIT or the IIMs, they are churning out very smart students. But at the same time, to increase the base, it is also necessary, taking instances from what has happened in the case of South Korea or for that matter China, they put emphasis on the primary education, because only then the supply of smart young kids will actually increase. And because the government is now putting more and more money in expansion of IIT and IIMs, over a period of time, we will also see more smart kids entering this. And in a way, that will lead to a smart Indian labor force, which will also increase the wage rate. I should also mention another fact, that why the Indian economy is doing well at this point of time, because the other thing which is happening, government has taken a big step in terms of expanding physical infrastructure. Now, over the last year, they have spent close to 10 lakh crore rupees towards building roads, ports, airports, which has also, in tandem with the digital infrastructure, has brought down the cost of doing business. So it takes lesser amount of time, let's say, to ship your goods from Muzaffarpur to, let's say, to the port city of Mumbai. At the same time, what is also happening, this in the process of building roads, ports and infrastructure, you are employing this not so skilled type of labors. So you're also generating employment. So the emphasis on the primary education, which I just now mentioned, will yield a benefit in the long run. But in the short run, because the government is spending so much money in economic activities within India, in terms of building physical infrastructure, that is also going to create employment, and it also has its own multiplier effect. It is also going to generate and sustain the income that we are seeing. So in all possibility, 2024 is also going to be a good year, and we are going to see this growth process to sustain.
Thank you, Professor Banik, for the insights into what we can expect the Indian economy to be in 2024. Be Smart viewers, hope you found the video helpful. Please do write in to us with your valuable feedback and suggestions at besmart.edit@bsmail.in.